Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I miss Val Kilmer and Greene.
And I'm Gary, and today we're going to review and discuss Thunderheart, which released in 1992 from writer John Fusco and directed by Michael Apted. Iain, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows Val Kilmer playing FBI agent Ray Lavoie. He has been assigned to head to an Indian reservation where there has been a murder and has been set up to help look into the investigation and partnered up with Sam Shepard's FBI agent Kutel. As they start to investigate what's going on the reservation, Lavoie realizes that while hooking up with Sheriff Walter Crowhorse, played by Greene, that there might be a deeper thing happening on the reservation to the local people, and that Val might have to step in to save the day.
Yeah, well, Leo's got to get the ceremony. He's got to make the journey.
What journey? Oh, the journey, right.
So this is a film that's inspired by true events that took place at an Indian reservation. And interestingly, the writer for the film actually spent 5 years on the reservation writing the script.
Wow.
He actually was fluent in the language as a result of it. But sadly, when this film released in 1992, even though it had Val Kilmer, a big name at the time, it flopped on release and subsequently went under the radar of many a film goer, myself included. Even though I'm a huge fan of both Val Kilmer and Greene, I don't understand how I always missed this film.
Well, it's very political.
Well, when it's dealing with Native Americans and their land, the American government or the FBI taking away that land, or with there being murders taking place, it's going to be political.
Well, yeah, it is, but at the same time, I mean, when you go to your local video store or Blockbuster, you don't look at a Val Kilmer movie and go, oh wow, this is a political thriller, I really want to go home and watch this. No, we all went and got Batman Forever. And Top Gun. And we were like, that's it. We don't need any other Val Kilmer movies. But like Gary said, this was mentioned to us a while ago and we'd never heard of it. So we put it on the list and we waited for like a really good time. And okay, I'm just going to come out and say it. Man, fucking 2 hours. I was like, oh my God. This is a 2-hour movie.
Don't you get excited when a film's 2 hours and you're like, oh, this is all this time going to be well spent?
I do, but I also get a bit of anxious because the pacing's got to go. The story's got to go. You know, the acting's got to carry that. And with this movie, like I said, there wasn't going to be any, it didn't feel like there was going to be any massive, huge shootouts. I mean, we're not talking Heat here. You know, Heat, when you look at Heat and you look at the length of Heat, you're like, why is it not 4 hours long, you know? With this, I was a little bit unsure. Not many people speak about it. Not many people have said, yes, this is a great movie. So I sat down and I just said to myself, you know what? Fuck it, Iain. You haven't seen a Val Kilmer movie you've never seen before in like a lifetime. So let's just fucking go. And I hit play and wow, that opening where the guy just got shot. All silhouetted. I was like,
it just falls,
good way to start.
Falls into the lake and the title just pops up and you're like, okay, we're in.
Yeah, we're in. We're in. And then we cut to Val Kilmer bombing along in his little like convertible with his shades on. I'm like, wow. Good old Val looks so cool.
Yeah, well, already the film's just going, okay, so we've had some Native Americans and a murder, and then we're cutting to an urban cityscape. So
yes.
Like, okay, so we're definitely having a big contrast here because we're about to take the city boy and put him on the Indian reserve.
Well, it's good old Washington, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and he turns up at the FBI kind of headquarters and he's talking to his boss there. Like it's the air traffic controller from Die Hard 2. I forget his name, but he's just like, yeah, you know, you're part Native American, and Ray Lavoie's like, am I?
Well, I kind of got the impression that he knew because we find out that he's had some father issues.
Yeah.
And so I feel like he's tried to keep this a secret and he doesn't like that his superiors are now exposing this.
Totally.
But they're also saying this because, well, they're it's almost like they want to pin hit on the fall guy and just be like, well, we need you because we need someone who's got Native American blood, so you're the guy.
Totally. Yeah. And I got from Val Kilmer as well, sat there, like you said, the look in his eye, you know, Ray Lavoie is emoting to me that he's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, he has tried to hide this part of his past. He's trying to pretend like he doesn't know what he's talking about.
It also feels like this job is a punishment he's being given for some reason.
Yeah, like, you know, he's just being sent to this place. But at the same time, the fact he's hooking up with Agent Frank Kuttel, played by Sam Shepard, he immediately says there in the office, like, oh, this guy's a legend. And so part of me is like, oh, so he's going to investigate this murder with somebody else who's maybe, you know, bit on the edge, maybe a couple of weeks away from retirement, but he's known at the Bureau by everybody.
Right, yeah.
You know, in the right light, with your head turned like that, you kind of remind me of Sal Mineo in Arrows on the Prairie. Did you ever see that one?
And then once he's got like the information of why he's heading there, there's been this murder that Kuttel is investigating, but at the same time, Kutel's been there for a number of years, and you've got this aggressive Native American group who've moved in to try to hopefully overthrow the already established Native American council that are there.
And in this, the film, they're called ARM.
Yeah.
Whereas I think in the reality, they were called AIM.
It's like, it's like Aboriginal, you know, rioting group or something.
Yeah.
You know, they're not meaning to be aggressive, but they do not want to just sit back and be kind of pushed around by the American government and the FBI and all the other police. And so they are having to stand up. And the FBI believe that two heads that work for this group might be the ones that were involved in this murder that they're investigating. But then when he gets there, when, you know, Ray Lavoie gets there and he meets up with Kuttel, like driving through the town, and how Val mentions that it's like third world in the middle of America.
Well, he's just like, well, they're trying to fight for these rights, but how about they, you know, pick up and clean up their back lawns because there's just wrecks everywhere.
Yeah, there's this like, Val Kilmer's delivering like this hint of racism in his voice towards not only having to be working on this case, but having to work with these people.
And we also see that when he apprehends Walter Crowhorse, played by Graham Greene.
Yeah.
When they've come to examine the body and they hear this motorcycle and
yeah,
they're just like, they arrest him, they handcuff him, and then Sam Shepard like takes his identity and he's like, oh look, he's a cop actually, it's fine.
Yeah.
Which I do also think is a bit of a plot hole, considering Shepard's been here for like a decade. He should know that guy is a cop unless he didn't recognize him from the back of him. But I was
I suppose. But I also think he purposely allowed it to happen.
To see what Ray would behave like. Yeah.
To put him on the spot because, you know, they're there. They see, you know, Crowhorse turn up and he goes towards the body. But Ray Lavoie is all over him, throws him to the floor, disarms him. You know, he doesn't even try to chat to him. He immediately sees him as a threat.
Well, it's also because this is a crime scene. It's also supposed to be sectioned off, so nobody should be here, and they immediately assume this is the killer, come back to, you know, make sure the body's still hidden.
Yeah, but it's the Native Americans. You know, they're obviously they're wanting to deal with this body in their own kind of, I want to say religion, but it's not really a religion. It's
their own tradition?
Their own traditions. You know, they want to do something with this body because he's been sat out here for 3 days.
They also say that the body has been laid face down.
Yeah.
And in their customs, the body should be face up so their soul can leave the body.
Yeah. But I also love the investigation behind this. The way that, you know, Val Kilmer was looking at the body and he goes through what he believes has obviously happened. And then Sam Shepard, Cooch's character, you know, points out, oh, you're very clinical and you've got a smart eye, but actually this is what I believe happened, and completely kind of disavows it. But it's when it comes back later when Graham Greene obviously mentions about the body and he's just like, actually they dumped it there. That's not where the guy died. He's got traces of like this river on his clothes and things like that, so he must have died, fell in the river, and then now they've moved the body. And we're looking for the guy's car as well because that's missing. Now this was kind of in a way where I started to question, like I said, Sam Shepard, FBI agent Kuttel's position in all of this, because the FBI want this investigation done and dusted in 3 days. They don't want it to go too far because that means they've got to go in guns blazing and obviously set everything up as a normal investigation.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I also had my, excuse the pun, reservations about the film at this point, because I was like, even though the acting's really good, I was like, this story is so paint by numbers. The moment Sam Shepard turned up, this legendary police officer, I was like, bad guy, you're the bad guy of this film. Oh, there's Fred Ward. Fred Ward's great. The two of them from The Right Stuff, reunited 10 years later.
Yeah.
Both bad guys. I just like, you're both bad guys.
Fred Ward plays a badass bad guy.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And then I was like, oh, Graham Greene, you're going to be, you and Val Kilmer, you're at opposite ends right now, and the two of you are going to have to come to some kind of understanding to figure out the corruption and figure out who's playing who, and then come have a bonding moment, and then happy ever after kind of ending. So that's how I painted the whole film out, and it does play out as exactly how you would think it would over those 2 hours. But even though I was like, okay, so the plot, it's not doing anything for me here. The mystery, the thriller aspect, I was like, that's fine. But what it really became for me was a very good character drama, a very good character piece.
Yeah.
Because we slowly start to chip away at Val Kilmer's Ray character and about what he suppressed from his childhood.
Yeah.
And how he's now dealing with being surrounded by blood that he shares.
Yeah, because like Graham Greene takes him to this kind of grandpa figure who's had visions, and he wants to tell, Ray Lavoie, Val Kilmer, about these visions. But it's the way that, like you said, Graham Greene and Val Kilmer start to bounce off, that I'm like, oh man, you could get a real good buddy cop drama.
Oh, absolutely.
Out of these two.
Because they are at opposite ends right now. It's the sequence where Val Kilmer's bombing along and he gets pulled over.
Oh, yes.
And it's Graham Greene. He's just like, yeah, you were doing 59 and 55 miles an hour.
Yeah, this is my jurisdiction.
And he's like, well, where's your tracker? And he's like, I don't need one. The wind told me. It said, book him.
Let me see the radar.
I don't need no radar, I can tell.
You're so full of shit.
No, I listened to the wind when you went by. It said, 59, nail him.
I mean, they just start having to go at each other, and Graham Greene's just like, yeah, I can tell you've got a holster on your left ankle, the way you shuffle your foot.
Oh, yeah, the tracking of scene was fucking
New
brilliant.
shoes that are too tight and everything else. He just calls him down to a T. And then just as Ray's about to get in the car, he's just like, hey, fuck you. This is so good. I was like, okay, so the comedy's there as well.
I love the way that every time we saw Graham Greene kind of drive past Val Kilmer, we just gave him the finger.
They were both giving each other the finger, yeah.
There was also that line as well where I think it was Graham Greene said to Val, he's just like, oh, we've got to send him on the journey, the dead body. And Val Kilmer was like, what journey? Oh, the journey.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
You'd love to.
And so they're investigating Jimmy Looks Twice and Maggie Eaglebear. These are the two people who kind of work for ARM, the group. And you, like Gary said, you can already feel that they're being pinned for this murder, but they've got really nothing to do with it. I mean, Jimmy Looks Twice, that sequence with him I thought was great because it played off into a further joke, didn't it? Where they've arrested him and they've got handcuffs on him and they go to take him to his house and he says, look, don't bust down my door because like you
the
keep
keys
doing
under
that.
the porch.
The keys under the porch reach down, and so Sam Shepard's character reaches down to get it and he gets bitten on the hand by a badger. And so Jimmy Looks Twice goes for runs and tries to free himself from the handcuffs, and he gets chased by Val Kilmer all the way there, and they try to shoot him. And it's when Val Kilmer goes to look for him at the caravan, and Jimmy Looks Twice is kind of snuck out the back, but he sees the deer
Jump over the fence. And
then it subsequently keeps coming up in conversation that other people believe that Jimmy Looks Twice is actually a shapeshifter and that he can shapeshift into animals to get away. And it pays off. I was going to jump to it now because I thought it was absolutely brilliant. There's a sequence where FBI agent Ray Lavoie is kind of staking out somebody, and he sees a dog, and he goes, "Jimmy, is that you?"
Yeah.
He takes the dog with him everywhere.
Yeah, he pours some milk, doesn't he? He pours some milk. Well, he puts the milk down. The dog knocks it over and licks it up. And then before you know it, the dog's in the car with him. And he's like, I fed it. It won't go.
Yeah, this is my new friend.
Yeah.
James Looks Twice. You're under arrest. Shapeshift, you can have some milk.
So during the investigation, once they found the body, they find out where the river or the water was that the body was, and they find that it's near the house of a school teacher.
Yeah, Maggie Eaglebear, yeah.
Maggie Eaglebear. And so she also gives Ray a bit of a stern talking to.
Yeah.
Pretty much kicks him out after they kind of... At first I was like, was that a meet cute? Are these two going to have a romance kind of
like
thing?
it, yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't really meant to be. But he does end up coming back to her place later on. Subsequently, though, the goon squad also turns up and shoots the place up.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a dramatic moment where her child is also shot in the arm, and there's a bit of a mad rush to get him to the hospital. So I was like, okay, so it's just a little bit of drama, a bit of action here, and it also, again, is just showing the strength of these characters.
Yeah. Well, I also liked as well, it kind of solidified the idea that, you know, when you're on these reservations, they're kind of their own law. You know, and it's, you know, outsiders don't really come in unless obviously they're requested by other people. And so you've got, like you said, you've got these goon squads driving around that work for Frank Milton, Fred Ward's character, who are trying to, you know, force these supposed violent protesting Indians off of their land, you know, and yet these are the guys driving around in their trucks with M16 machine guns
with
and
security checks
rifles.
on all the roads.
Yeah, security checks everywhere to stop anybody from moving around, and they're willing on actually shooting places full of children. But it gets revealed to us as well through this grandpa character that Val Kilmer meets, that Ray Lavoie has, you know, he has a connection through his Indian heritage to the Battle with Wounded Knee that is like really quite close. I'm not a massive historian, so I'm not really going to try and say like I even know about it, but it turns out that there was, you know, a bit of a violent skirmish with some Indians on that land like 100 years ago or whatnot, and there was an Indian there called Thunderheart who obviously was trying to save his people and wanted to make a run for the stronghold, but he died. And he is a great-great-great-great-great-grandfather kind of character to Ray Lavoie. And Val Kilmer's character had these visions every now and again through the movie, especially when he's been on the reservations, where he's seeing groups of Native Americans kind of doing their dance and chanting, things like that. And at first it was a bit, I was just like, what is that? Is he dehydrated? Is he hallucinating? You know, is it the heat getting to him?
I also wondered this because I was like, he's having these hallucinations, these visions. I was like, has he been, you know, like smoking the old...
Well, he did go give him the pipe, and at first Malcolm was like, no, I don't want any.
But there's a sequence there where he sat at the fire and, you know, the ritual's going on, and then he wakes up in his car after seeing the nightmare.
Yeah.
I was like, is he taking drugs or not? I can't. Is the film implying he is, or where's these visions coming from? Because like Graham Greene's just like, you had a vision.
Yeah.
He was like, some people go their whole lives and never have a vision. He was like, maybe you were just dreaming. It was just a dream. But it wasn't. You had a vision. He was really angry.
I think it was more the fact that, like, for me, the film was, or Val Kilmer was telling us as the story goes on that his history is coming through and he's beginning to more accept it.
Yeah.
You know, we had that shot of him as a little boy sat on the knee of his dad, but we find out that his dad was an alcoholic, you know, and had a job at one point, but then he'd obviously become violent or, you know, overly alcoholic, so his mother had left him and
wasn't he in construction, doing construction work without safety harnesses?
That's right, yeah. He just used to walk along the beams and maybe he'd lost his mind there. But it was, for me, like I said, Val Kilmer accepting his past and accepting that this is who he is and who he comes from. And they also made me wonder, like, maybe his dad had gone mental because he'd also thought he was Thunderheart. You know, and he was seeing fucking Native Americans dance around and was just like, what the hell is that? I'm just going to keep drinking. Hopefully they'll go away. Oh, they've multiplied? Oh, you know.
Well, sometimes they have to kill us. They have to kill us. Because they can't break our spirit.
So throughout the course of the film, the relationship between Ray and Grandpa, is it Grandpa Reaches? I think?
Yeah, Grandpa Reaches.
Really starts to develop because at first, you know, Graham Greene's there to do the translating. But there's a sequence where he's like, oh, he really likes your sunglasses. He's like, he wants you to trade. Yeah. And so Val's just like, oh, here's my sunglasses. And Grandpa gives him a stone.
Yeah.
And he's like, good trade. It's like, what? But then he's just like, no, he wants your watch. And he's just like, yeah, next time Ray's there, he's like, no, you're not having my watch. No, there's no more trading.
Yeah.
I was like, but already the relationship's blossoming. But again, there's another sort of supernatural-ish moment when there's a festival going on. Ray and Walter Crowhorse are now sort of working together, and they know that they're looking for someone in particular. And he's like, maybe you should go over there and look for Jimmy.
Yeah,
and Ray looks like, what? That's not Jimmy. He turns, and Crowhorse has just vanished. I was like, how did he do that?
I waited for the camera to turn to see that he was just mingling with the crowd.
Yeah, right.
It was just these little things just to lighten certain sequences, because every time like Ray Lavoie would go back and start working with Coutel deeper into the investigation, it was the harshness. You know, we got the sequence where they were in a bar and they were going over the report of what to tell people about Coutel hurting his hand, and he didn't want to tell anybody that obviously he'd been bit by a badger. So they're lying, and I felt right from the start where they were like, oh, he's supposed to be a legend. I'm like, oh, well, how many times has he lied? You know, is all of his legendary stories made up, or, you know, was he a good guy now turned bad? Because at the same time, the bar gets attacked at that point by a Molotov.
That's right, yeah.
And they rush outside and they complain about these people. And I'm just like, who are these people aiming for? Are they aiming for Lavoie? Are they aiming for both FBI agents? Is it just...
Well, it's because there's pretty much a brewing civil war going on between those that want to fight and those that have kind of given up. And
yeah.
To some extent, you know?
Yeah, and so Lavoie and Greene get together to obviously, you know, Grandpa reaches again, and they go on this spirit quest, or this, you know, he gets told the information about him being like a descendant of Thunderheart, and gets told, like, you have to go to the stronghold, you have to go to this river. But Ray Lavoie is still not accepting his position in this, and so then he obviously tries to just leave everything behind and go, yeah, you guys are dealing with this. But it's when he starts to uncover the evidence that leads him back to that river and realizes that actually this land is being dug up for uranium deposits.
Yeah.
Which is obviously illegal in this Indian land because it's Indian land.
Yeah, there was some references early on in the film about cattle dying on the sides of roads because they've been drinking the water and the water being polluted. So it was a case of there's all of this chemicals or this stuff that's being dumped in the land, or they're basically just trying a way to eradicate the land and then therefore get everyone off the reservation anyway.
Yeah.
So you're just like, okay, so there's definitely some political manipulation and payoffs going on somewhere, and I can only guess it's coming from the good old FBI.
Yeah. It's around about this time as well when they're investigating the uranium digging holes that they actually come across Maggie's body.
The school teacher.
Yeah. And she's been murdered, which for me was a bit of a shock because I was like, oh, I thought that they would develop her a bit more, I mean, relationship-wise with Lavoie, and, you know, maybe he'd find like Gary said, a meet cute and fall in love. But at the same time, I like the way they just brutally offed her, because that kind of forces Ray to go, no, I'm not doing this anymore. You know, the FBI have obviously been covering most of this stuff up. They've already tried to pin all the murders on Jimmy. And the fact that Grandpa had Jimmy at his house, and then the FBI have immediately just turned up and obviously gone to arrest him. And Ray's like, no, I need to investigate this more. And there was this other guy, Yellow Hawk.
Yeah, who was in a wheelchair from the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
And when Ray turns up at his place and had to make gunpoint, he's like, stand up, get out of your chair. And he does. He's like, yeah, okay, yeah. How much else are you lying about?
And it's uncovered through Yellow Hawk that obviously he was given the gun by FBI agents to shoot this guy and to kind of force this civil war to happen so that they'll all wipe each other out and they can just take the land.
Yeah.
What do you people want from me? I did what you Washijus told me to do.
You blew it, Richard.
Yeah, I blew his back out with your fucking hardware.
I love the way that the questions go, because Val Kilmer is just acting like he already knows, but then when he's told the information, he just goes into shock because he realizes that Kutau's in on it.
Yeah, exactly. So his whole world is falling apart. Well, it's a good job he's also putting his feet down in a new world where they're accepting him, because he also finds out that Grandpa can speak English, but he only speaks it when he's really angry or when he's talking to Ray, because they've actually started a bond now as well.
Yeah. And they've come across the bullet casings that were used in the original murder at the very start of the movie, and that they're obviously registered to FBI weapons. And from this point, like after they've, found the uranium deposits and Maggie's body, it turned into a fucking massive shootout. The goon squad turned up because it turns out that Frank Milton, Fred Ward's character, has been working with Kutau on certain land to sell off to, uranium deposit miners and fucking oil drillers and all that kind of stuff, so they can reap the benefits. It's obviously destabilizing the reservation, and the people are obviously losing their land. And the protesters hadn't initially come in to cause violence with the people. They came in to obviously oust the council run by Frank Milton and get rid of them and the cops so they can take their land back. So you're just like, oh, right, okay, so we now know who the good guys are. We now know who the bad guys are. We've got Val Kilmer and Graham Greene fucking shooting out and fucking driving their car as fast as they can. And it's revealed to us that just like Thunderheart did at Wounded Knee, or tried to, Val's going to try to make it to the Stronghold. And at first I was like, what the fuck's the Stronghold? I don't see nothing. What's that? And then I realized it was the rocks that they were heading for.
That's right, yeah. And, well, but it also seems like they're absolutely done for, because the goon squad is there. They're absolutely surrounded, guns aimed at them. You're like, oh God, are they both just going to get shot and killed here?
Yeah.
But then all of the other natives, all of the other people from the reservation just turn up in a line across the, in a formation along the rock, the mountaintop.
Yeah, yeah.
They're like, oh wow, how the tables have turned.
That's it. Because it was, I'm assuming because it's all reservation land, if anybody starts shooting, then they're all going to get fucked.
Yeah.
But like the Indians will have the advantage. They've got the high ground, and all they've got to do is get the evidence that obviously Ray Lavoie has to an actual outsider person to say, like, this is what's going on, to bring down both Cooch and Milton. And obviously Kutau, Sam Shepard's character, is unhappy about doing that. But it all collapses in, and it all kind of ends in a nice way. Well, not many people are killed other than Maggie. And Yellow Hawk. He got his throat he got taken out. But by the end of it, Val Kilmer, Ray Lavoie, he's actually quit the FBI.
Yeah, well, one of my favorite shots in the film is right at the end, where he's driving back and he gets to the crossroads.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's at a crossroads in his life, and not just physically at a crossroads.
Yeah.
It's like, which direction does he want to now go in? Yeah.
I thought it was beautiful the way that he actually gave up his watch.
Yes, he also gives it to Grandpa. Yeah.
And it was kind of sad that him and Crow Horse were separating, because, like I said, it was so good. I was like, man, it's one of my to be partners.
It's another one of my favorite scenes right there, where he says to him, he's just like, there is no word for goodbye in Sioux.
Yeah.
So good luck. See you around. Like, goodbye. It's just like, because these two have just almost become brothers by the end of this film.
Yeah.
And now Ray's going his separate way. But still a satisfying ending, though.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the crime, the thriller, the whole thing was resolved, and...
the pacing, it just kept me going just enough that, like I said, it gave me something to question in each scene, and then I kind of breathed and was like, okay, I kind of think that, this is what's going on. This is where we're going. It's escalating.
Yeah. But for me, it wasn't so much about the plot line throughout the whole film, because I felt it was so formulaic, whereas the characters were really quite complex. So I was very happy to follow their character arcs and their personal growths and journeys through this film, rather than the plots or lining up to the ending. So, but yeah. Well, Iain, what were your favourite scenes though from Thunderheart?
Man, I gotta give it to Graham Greene. Man, he was fucking stealing a lot of these sequences. I said to Gary before we turned the camera on, this movie kind of reminded me a lot of Clear Cut. And just obviously the backdrop of the Indian kind of fantastical kind of situations of them sitting in sweat lodges and smoking pipes and having visions and stuff. But like Graham Greene just made me laugh in so many different situations. The grandpa situation with the sunglasses and the rock. I mean, I loved how it played off later on where, you know, Val Kilmer tries to get his glasses back and tries to use the rock as a trade. And Graham Greene's like, I'm not giving you that. These are Ray-Bans. That's just a rock. The way he'd ride past and just give him the finger every now and again. That journey kind of look from Val Kilmer was absolutely great. You know, the vision speech, that was absolutely great. Man can go his whole life and never have a vision. And you've had one in like the first 5 fucking seconds. You know, the situation with Val Kilmer and the dog. You know, I also really liked, there was that situation where he sat in the van and he's looking at the old man with the bucket.
Yeah, and he's just like, oh, all right.
Just, I'll just go down and help him, all right. It was just so good to just see Val Kilmer just doing his thing.
Yeah. There are so many great little moments in the film that I really liked. First one being Ray being pulled over by Crow Horse for speeding. Great moment. And then Crow Horse putting Ray down and then Ray getting in the car and saying, fuck off. It's just a great scene.
You're wearing brand new shoes that are a little too tight in the instep, but man, they look cool and that's what counts. Am I right?
Fuck you.
Val Kilmer rescuing the dog, you know, feeding it some milk, and then the fact that the dog was still sat in the car at the end of the film, just like, yeah, that's great. Yeah. That's cool. I also really like the bit where he just goes, oh, look, go chase Jimmy. And then vanishes, completely vanished. I also really like Grandpa. I love it when he turns to when Ray and Crow Horse are fighting, and he's like, you two fight like old women. Now let's go and watch some TV. I was like, what?
He can speak English. Yeah, only when he's pissed off. I was like...
So they're just little moments, and it's all really the script and the actors bringing those moments to life.
Yeah,
really, really good. I also, like I said, I loved Val at the crossroads at the end.
Yeah,
really great moment. Again, I also want to talk about Roger Deakins, the cinematographer for this film. Spectacular visuals. The landscape photography of the Native American reservation captured it all well, like the nighttime shots, the close-ups. It was just I don't know if it was storyboarded, but every frame told a picture as it's supposed to. But it was just well framed, well lit, and it was seamless. And again, it was really well accompanied by James Horner's music. Even when the film credits were rolling, I was like, I did not suspect that was James Horner.
No,
it was much more understated than what it usually is.
Yeah,
but yeah, still made those sequences really, really work. Well, Iain, do you recommend Thunderheart?
I do, but personally, I feel like this movie is just a 7 out of 10. Now, I know that might seem low, I suppose, but I say 7 out of 10 because I just enjoyed it. It was fun. It was just like a little mystery. You know, it's not a groundbreaking, Oscar-winning type of movie that you're just wanting like layer upon layers of depth and characters, and it's certainly not a piece of shit like Moon 44. This movie... Graham Greene and Val Kilmer are 2 reasons to watch this. The backdrop of the Indian stuff on the reservation is a bit of history that you might want to know and might make your eyes open and understand of these worlds that you probably will never hear of or see. But like I said, Val Kilmer, man. Like, that guy could act his way out of a paper bag, and I'd fucking watch him and be like, that was some of the best paper bag getting out of acting I've ever seen. And then have Graham Greene just go...
Yeah, I'm certainly recommending Thunderheart. It's a compelling thriller with engaging characters and quality performances. Although it's not a true story, it is very well researched, and it highlights how in the 1970s the village of Pine Ridge became the murder capital of the nation. Val Kilmer was utterly convincing as the mixed blood with conflicting loyalties and with it dealing with his heritage and with his parental issues, while Graham Greene was also fantastic here, bringing much of the levity when needed, but also the truths of the situation. Really great cast here, all on top form, and the bond that forms between the leads is the real strength of the film for me. The cinematography is also fantastic, from sweeping landscape horizons to the rituals and the gun shootouts. It's framed well to draw you in, while James Horner's soundtrack complements the visuals without dominating the picture. So yeah, I think this is more than worth a watch. This is a great film. It's gripping, funny, well acted, and very entertaining. Modern mystery in an ancient land. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
Want a horse?
Fuck you.
You'd love to.